Hello and welcome to this video in which we continue our analysis of Arthur Conan Doyle's The Sign of Four. Everything you see in the videos comes from the ebook. Pick it up at mrbruff.com or amazon.co.uk. Today we're moving on to our character analysis of Miss Mary Morstan. Now, what an interesting character she is. Miss Morstan serves more than one function in The Sign of Four. She is the source of the mystery which Sherlock Holmes has to solve. She's a love interest for Dr. Watson, and she also represents women in general in Victorian society. In terms of her first or primary function, she's the one who comes to Baker Street on the recommendation of Mrs. Cecil Forrester, and she's been sent a series of letters telling her that she is a wronged woman, and even received the gift of a valuable pearl. Now, as we've seen earlier in the video series, Holmes's response to this is for his eyes to glisten and to rub his hands together. Watson, however, is somewhat more emotional in his response. He sees in her some key details which, ironically, is what Holmes would do if he had any interest in her at all, aside from her story. He sees that her costume bore with it a suggestion of limited means. I think she must be shopping at Primark. He sees that her face had neither regularity of feature nor beauty of complexion, but her expression was sweet and amiable, and her large blue eyes were singularly spiritual and sympathetic, and that, when about to sit, her hand quivered, and she showed every sign of intense inward agitation. So at first impressions, or as far as first impressions go, this is incredibly detailed and carries with it some hint at Watson's future feelings towards her. As Watson is a foil for Holmes, Miss Morstan is present in The Sign of Four simply to move the story along. Plot development is her main function. She's the only female who's described to us in any detail in the novel, but she makes only sporadic appearances after the opening 5 chapters, and it's usually simply to consolidate the facts of the case through Watson giving her a recap or to develop Watson's feelings for her. There's no point where we're giving a detailed account of her motivation or feelings other than what relates to the case at hand. Now, women in general feature very little in all of the Holmes stories, and their restricted role would have been reflective of Victorian society. The female was seen as something to cause a mystery, a murder caused by jealousy, for example, or to bring a mystery to a detective because they were weak, needed help, and couldn't figure out the problem alone. Other than her appearance, there's very little more said about Mary, which is telling in itself. She's not considered an important character, certainly not important enough to develop in any meaningful way. Victorian society was obviously very different to present-day society, and the kind of norms of that society are reflected in Watson and Miss Morstan when, after dropping her to her lodgings, Watson has a crisis of confidence in what he's doing. He argues with himself, saying that she is weak and helpless, shaken in mind and nerve, and it would be taking advantage of her if he were to obtrude love upon her at such a time. Here Watson's trying to be honourable, trying to be the honourable gentleman, while describing the object of his love in rather unflattering terms. Even though he's trying to be nice, he's describing her as less than what she really is, a symptom of Victorian society's attitude to women. In maintaining a proper relationship, he's treating her as if she's weak and defenceless. Finally, another hint at how Miss Morstan is seen by Holmes and how Victorian women were viewed is when at the end of the story, Watson announces his plan for the two of them to be married. For the first time, Holmes describes Mary in any sort of detail. He says she had a decided genius that way. Witness the way in which she preserved that Agra plan from all the other papers of her father. But love is an emotional thing, and whatever is emotional is opposed to that true cold reason which I place above all things. Now, what's interesting here is that his respect and admiration for her lies in something she did which helped him solve the case, and he speaks about her in the past tense, as if now that she's to be married, she no longer exists. Or, alternatively, it could mean that now the case is solved, she no longer exists. Either way, the treatment of Mary Morstan in the novel, while often well-meaning, is a reflection of women's treatment in the Victorian era in general, and her use in the novel is broadly to support the development of Watson and the storyline. She doesn't have much to contribute as a character in her own right. If you found this video useful, please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.